we use thinning techniques. You can use normal scissors for thinning too, in certain ways. And I will teach you more advanced techniques down the track, but if I just throw you all advanced techniques now, you're just going to get confused and overloaded with information, and it's not going to help you. Plus, you'll probably start trying to run before you can walk. You're going to cut your fingers a lot with things like this. Yeah, it's just going to. So yeah, what we would do. Do you know what I mean by texture, right? How would texture the hair kind of look? Do you think?
It kind of comes out like chunky and falls in different places.
Yeah, it creates almost 3D, more depth, more interest. So someone would really like, okay, Oak's a good example. We're not going to like it because it's the video, but Oak's a good example. He's got really quite, what's the word? Without saying, it's very straight, isn't it? It's bolt straight, and it doesn't do anything. So it needs texture in it. You have to have texture in Oak's hair because otherwise it's just going to look like he's wearing a helmet or some sort of, And if he doesn't get a regular haircut, that is. But you can get texture out of products. You can use clays, things like that, to bring out texture as well. But if you're cutting it in a way that gives it texture, then double whammy, really, isn't it? Combine that with product, and you've got something really special. But yeah, something I always wanted to. I see a lot of barbers really struggling with Asian hair, straight hair, and a lot of, I was saying this earlier, a lot of Asian guys will go to Asian barbers because they don't trust white barbers because they always mess up, because they just don't really know how to approach it. But in my mind, the best way of approaching Asian hair, and it's good to get this frame of mind now, because I think if you think of it like this, you won't really struggle with it much. But with straight hair types, you want to be as messed up as possible. It needs to look as rugged and as messy and as choppy as possible. If you try and do it neat and tidy, it just is not going to work. It's just going to look crap. It's going to be really hard for you. Granted, the person in the chair is going to want a thing, but quite often you need to try and educate them into something that's not the right thing for them. Which is why you see a lot of Asian guys, particularly with really high, abrupt undercuts, because it sticks out everywhere if they don't do it that way. There's always ways that you can combat that, though. And one of the ways that you can combat that is lots and lots of heavy texture. So straight hair is really something that benefits from lots of texture. Curly hair just doesn't need it, really. You might want a thin curly hair now sometimes, but even then, curls are great. You don't need to do much with it. It's so much easier. A lot of barbers are scared of curly hair as well. It could be easier. That's the easiest time to cut it. Anyway, so this is point cutting. So point cutting means that you're cutting into the hair instead of across it. Yeah. And the reason why it's called point cutting is because you're holding the scissors. You're coming into the hair at different angles. The amount of the angle dictates how much texture you're giving it. Yeah. So this is one way you can get texture is by taking a section through. Say I've already just cut this whole thing, which I haven't. It looks terrible. But if I just take a section at the back here and show you what I mean. Now I could point cut this in a few different ways. If I was to chop straight into it at a completely vertical line, it's not taking anything off, is it? It's very, very minimal. It's not doing anything. So all that's doing, that is thinning it. It's not really texturizing it, that actually is thinning it. That's doing what thinning scissors do. It's just taking out very, very tiny bits of hair. And it's not going to create any visual texture at all. Whereas if you do much, much deeper, more diagonal lines like that, like a sawtooth shape, that's creating texture. So what that means is it's basically like when I let go of that, what happens, you won't be able to see it until I do the whole thing, but what happens is the shorter hairs prop up the longer hairs and so forth, so it gives it more volume, more depth, it just makes the whole thing way more interesting, basically. You see a lot of people doing this. You see a lot of barbers just going chop, 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 chop for ages, right? That's just doing completely the opposite of what you should be doing. It's not actually, you're just taking off lots of length. You're not adding texture. So and this is really important, is the deeper and the more aggressive the texturizing technique is, obviously the more dramatic the results are going to be. But if I take that and maybe go to almost half depth of that whole section, the length remains the same. The length of the haircut remains the same. You're not altering the length, you're just altering the texture. So if I do 1, 2, to be honest, 2 maybe, yeah? And then take another bit in front of it. And maybe just do, the more rugged you are with it, the better in a lot of ways. as long as you're not taking length. So, but if I just do this really quickly, what I would do if I'd done a haircut is I would cut it all normally, so I'd have it all quite a uniform length, so I know that the shape's intact. Then I would go through it, and instead of cross-checking it, I would be texturizing it. So that's one way of adding texture. That's like what you kind of call deep point cutting, yeah? So another way, you were talking about earlier, like you see hairdressers doing it a lot, they'll twist their hair, right? This is another one. You can't really do it with long hair, you can't really do it with short hair, but this is another one that people do. Is they'll do this, twist the hair, and they'll just work the scissors down it, and it will take little bits off. It doesn't really do a huge amount, but on longer hair it's much more evident. Another one would be channel cutting. So this is something I really don't want you to try straight away because it is a bit advanced. And I do this quite a lot, and I make it look quite easy probably, but yeah. You're always going in the direction of the hair. You can do like an X pattern as well. So you go diagonally across this way, and then you go diagonally across this way. But what you're doing is you're closing the scissors a tiny bit. So the more you're closing it, the more you're taking off, obviously. But if I run this through here, just do that, for example. You can see that's not actually taking off an awful lot of hair. There's no chunks coming out. Yeah, well that's doing is creating peaks and troughs, exactly the same way as if you were point cutting. It's just doing it in a slightly more controlled way, because you can see it taking shape while you're doing it. So if it was Nate's hair, it was all forwards like that, I wouldn't pick it up to texturize it. I'd do it the way it is, and I would come through it like this, and I'd just take extra bits of the way out. You know, if I'm going completely straight, it's taken off very slightly. You can do it, and I do it with thinning scissors. That's like a way of targeting. Then like a bit, there's a bit of bulk, I'll just kind of hack at that. You know, and it's this sort of like free approach that I think a lot of people get scared of. But like it's difficult for you because when you're learning, like you want to do everything really tidy and neat and stuff. But once you get like really into that, once you get past it, you basically unlearn all that stuff and then get really rugged and free. That's when it starts getting really fun, because it's quite liberating really to do it with a bit more artistic flair, you know. So that's another way of doing it. So point cutting is huge. You can do it, you can do it this way. You can do it inside your palm as well. So like for example, if this bit's really heavy, which there's been no blending here, so there's a scissor over. So you can see that sits quite heavy there. Like I might come in horizontally and use my finger here to point cut that in, and that's actually going to help me blend into the side as well. It just breaks things up a bit. There's no harsh lines. That's the thing about Asian hair, like I said, if you take clippers to Asian hair, you're just going to leave lines all over it if you haven't got the right technique. But you can break all those lines up with good texturizing and texturing technique. Another thing would be razors, using a razor on the hair. You know, you can just grab bits and just hack at them with the razor, and that's quite a nice way of creating really nice visual texture. But yeah, thinning is a separate thing entirely. There aren't, like, thinning scissors are cheating scissors in a way. You see a lot of people really overly dependent on them because they make the haircut look finished. I guarantee you it ain't finished. It just looks finished. When it grows out in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, it can look a bit crap if someone just bashed it with thinning scissors. It's a cheap shot, it's a shortcut, and I'm not really into it. So.
Are they absolutely necessary ever?
I think they're totally necessary, and I do use them in a lot of haircuts. But what I do with thinning scissors generally is I might do a whole bit of scissor over comb, and then to finish the scissor over comb off to make it even softer, I'll scissor over comb with my thinning scissors, just on the very outer edge. Yeah, and all that does is that makes it really silky and smooth. But if you go like, if you went right into the root of the hair, then it's like you see people do, then it's just going to, you're going to have like hairs this long, hairs this long.
Yeah.
It's going to grow back terribly, So you have to be really careful with them, and there's a right way to do it, and there's a right time and a place to do it, and like they're all in your kits for a reason. You're going to use them a lot, but yeah.
What would you do if someone had like really thick hair?
Yeah, I mean that's it. You get people with mega thick hair, and you do need them for that. But you can do it with scissors as well. Like there are other ways. Like if this, for example, this was sitting a bit more weighty, it's not at the moment, it's kind of okay. But I can come underneath like this. Maybe it's harder to do that as well, but this is another way of fitting by just chipping bits out underneath the weight. Tiny little bits. Can't really show you that because the hair's wet. When it's dry, it's quite easy.
So are you just chopping bits that are falling through the
Yeah,
cut?
it's basically like point. Oh, yeah. Basically point cutting from underneath.
Yeah.
It's quite cool. Yeah, it's quite cool. That's another one you can do, but again, you can mess it up very easily just by slipping and taking the wrong way out. Yeah, so I reckon once you have got comfortable with the scissor, don't rush it and move on to doing some stuff like that. It's kind of nice to maybe with this mannequin now move it into a forward position and try and go for something like Nate's haircut on the top. Let's try and go for maybe a bit of a fringe. I'll show you how to do that haircut properly next week probably.
Fringe cropping out.
Hey?
Are we giving them a fringe crop?
Yeah, it's not a French crop, it's more of a Caesar, I guess. But let's not just go in and lie on no fringes, please. Don't just cut us like fringe on it. Let's do some texture. Another thing I might do though, if someone's got, I might just come in and visually actually take chunks out like that. But yeah, it's what you do. If you're